Today on Doomed! There are many mysteries in the world, but possibly one of the most mysterious, I guess you can say, is the question of who funds the Federalist, the right-wing news website that until this very moment, nobody knew where they got their funding, their money from. But today, on Doomed, I will have on Alex Kotch. He is a reporter who finally brings us the answer of who funds the Federalist. Today on Doomed. Now, before we jump into that, I would just like to, first of all, plug patreon.com/MattBinder, because that's how Doomed is funded. By viewers and listeners like you. And without any further ado, I'm going to bring my guest up on the screen here and properly introduce him. Give me 1 second. There we go. Had the wrong screen on it. Give me 1 second. Oh, some sort of technical error. There we go. Let me give him a proper introduction now. Joining me now is Alex Kotch. Alex Kotch. He is a reporter for the Center for Media and Democracy, co-host for the Gilded Age podcast. Alex, thank you so much for joining me, and I apologize for completely messing up the intro as I dealt with various technical difficulties on the stream here.
Hey, no problem, man. It's part of the business. But yeah, thanks a lot for having me
on. So Alex, literally minutes before we, let me just back up there even. We were not supposed to talk today until about 2 hours ago when you drop this bombshell of a report. And it is there were rumors about one of these funders, but to finally have it down on paper as 100% confirmed is obviously very good. But then we have some more information about some other funders of the Federalist that weren't previously amid the rumor mill. So let's, jump right in, by informing my listeners who aren't aware. What is the Federalist?
Well, it is. So it's funny because you call them a news site, which of course is how they would like to be called. But I actually, in writing my story, I avoided the word news because I think it is such right-wing propaganda and just kind of ridiculousness that it doesn't really qualify much as news. But yes, it is a media website run by very far-right people. It's become under the Trump administration an extremely pro-Trump outlet, like many of them have become. Their shift happened very rapidly. I mean, they were very briefly perhaps considered a little never Trumpy, but then it didn't take much for them to go full Trump train. They're notorious for being completely opaque about their funding. Until recently, we didn't have any proof as to anyone who had actually donated money to them. Now we do. Right.
And I just want to defend myself a little bit. I said news, which is sort of like a sarcastic, it's like that's my audible way of putting quotation marks and saying it very sarcastic.
Got it. Well, I did hear that, and also, my instinct when writing it was, I think I initially wrote that, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to give them that credibility, but I could have just done the quotes, and that probably would have sufficed.
Right. I mean, I guess all these right-wing news organizations are essentially obviously propaganda. I mean, it's sort of what always bothers me about when people say, when they talk about the ideological spectrum of different news organizations, there's always those social media graphics out there that put like Reuters and AP right in the middle, and then it puts like Breitbart on the right, and then like the progressive news organizations on the left, and it always bothers me because, there is a way, progressive news basically is taking facts and making sure it's reported in a way that very clearly gives an opinionated, analysis from a leftist or progressive viewpoint. Whereas right-wing news doesn't usually take facts and present them with a conservative viewpoint or like an analysis. It's basically bullshit. Like, it's not even based on facts. Like, that's that's the main difference, and it always bothers me so much when they're like, "Oh yeah, on the left you got leftist groups, and then news organizations, and on the right you got Breitbart and the Federalist and Daily Caller and Daily Wire." It's not the same.
Not at all. Yeah, I mean that's classic both sidesism for you. But yeah, I mean right-wing media, conservative media, really in general, has kind of almost stopped doing investigative reporting altogether. And the reporting it does do is often, yeah, like kind of veers in propaganda. And then a lot of the sites like the Federalist, I mean, they don't even really do reporting. It's just all takes, and it's all trash. Lately, this year they've been just basically, I mean, I just search their site for the word mask, and you get like a torrent of articles about how there's complete fake news about how masks don't work to stop the spread of COVID-19 and all this crazy stuff. There was actually an article by an anonymous mayor, an alleged mayor of a small town who was anonymous, and then he quoted 2 or 3 other anonymous colleagues. Okay. And he was talking about how public health officials were imposing mask mandates only for political gain, not for actual scientific reasons. So, I mean, you can say this is a crazy, like, right-wing propaganda website. That's to be sure.
Right. They have a number of greatest hits, and by greatest hits, I mean they're known for complete articles, but especially headlines that are so off the wall bonkers. It's like, how did someone with half a brain sit down and write this and think they look smart? Like, for example, I'm looking right now, it looks like the most recent example of that. I don't know if you have a favorite, and if you do, feel free to share, but I'm looking at this most recent example where a editor at the Federalist shared an article from the Federalist, obviously. Why on earth would young, healthy people vaccinate themselves against COVID-19? And I see some people pointing out, and this is true, by the way, one of their young writers last year before COVID, at the age of 26, just very sad, I think her name Bree Payton, a staff writer for conservative news site The Federalist. I'm just reading her bio off of a Google search. She died last year from just apparently the flu. She was found unconscious and hospitalized with the flu and died at the age of 26. I mean,
Oh, wow.
very sad. I'm just bringing her up bringing her up to basically say how irresponsible and dumb of the Federalists to talk about why should young people vaccinate themselves against COVID-19 when they have a young writer who died last year of the flu, and obviously COVID is much worse.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I mean, I just wonder I mean, does it get them a lot of clicks? I mean, what is the motivation for just a year of lies about a deadly pandemic that's killed 300,000? We actually just hit 3,000 deaths today. That's more than 9/11. 9/11 was 2,900 and something deaths. That is, so we're doing a 9/11 every day in this country. I don't understand. I mean, maybe, well, we can go into this, but one of the donors to the Federalists, his company, and they endangered their workers, and they minimized the virus. So I mean, there could be some kind of weird reason why the Federalist is glomming onto this. But I mean, the point is they're propagandists anyway, so it's kind of popular on the right to sort of pretend that this isn't happening.
Right. And I just want to really like cue up here for people who the Federalist is. So I'm just gonna go through a few more things, and then we'll jump right into what you've uncovered in your. Honestly, I think it's a great piece, and I linked to it in the YouTube description and on the Patreon page. But the Federalist, basically, they in November of 2017, they published an opinion piece defending Roy Moore for dating teenagers. Now, if you don't remember, Roy Moore was the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate in Alabama, and he lost as a Republican in Alabama because the idea of him dating teenagers at the age of whatever age he was, 50, whatever, 30 40, yeah, something like that, was so horrific even to the Republicans in Alabama, but apparently not so much to the Federalist, who came to his defense. They also were discovered to have had a black crime section on their website. There was a black crime like tagging that was put on different articles that were, I guess, talking about black crime. I mean, which apparently is different than crime. I don't know. You know who else had a black crime section? Breitbart. So I just want to put that out there in terms of just the type of website we're dealing with here. And like you said, these guys were hardcore coronavirus deniers and, you know, spreading all sorts of misinformation about COVID-19. And I always enjoy this one, that they were fined recently for a labor law violation. Their co-founder, what's his name? The guy who's
Ben Dominic.
Ben Dominic. He's by the way, he's married to Meghan McCain. For anyone who doesn't know that, he tweeted out. Let me pull this tweet up. First one of you that tries to unionize, I swear I'll send you back to the salt mine. Apparently, you can't do that. You can't threaten your employees if they try to unionize. Did you know that, Alex?
I actually did, and I have a fun little tidbit that I just realized I forgot to put in the piece. But there's actually a legal nonprofit. I think it's called. It might be slightly different. Something like the New Civil Liberties Alliance or something like that. And they're actually funded by the Charles Koch Foundation, and they're defending the Federalist and Ben Dominic in this lawsuit. So there you have it.
Oh, we got a little bit of a breaking news on the show here. So let's jump right in now that we've given everyone an idea of just who the Federalist is. And I saw, by the way, if you want to, maybe now's the time to do this too, actually. I saw that some of their most prominent writers blocked you after this piece hit the internet.
Well, actually, they blocked me months, if not years ago. I was just bringing up the greatest hits, but all the top people, they pretty much. I mean, I'm surprised if you're not blocked. I mean, if you've typed out the words "Who funds the Federalist," they will block you if they see it. They're so defensive about this, which makes it really funny that we now know a couple of their donors.
Now I know I'm blocked by Sean Davis, but I don't think I don't think I'm blocked by Molly Hemingway or Ben Dominic. I think they have yet to. I've yet to go on their radar. I'll have to fix that right away.
Well, and also just to toot my horn a little bit more, I'm also blocked by Meghan McCain. So we've got the top four there. I mean, Meghan's not affiliated, but obviously the wife of the publisher.
Right. Yeah, I got another notch you have over me in terms of I gotta get on that block list. You know.
Well, you got more followers, so there you go.
But let's now jump into this now that everyone has an idea of who this company is. Now, it's become sort of a meme. Do you want to explain that? Because that makes it even a bigger deal that you've now uncovered who's behind the Federalist. The phrase "Who funds the Federalist" is used as like a meme-ish, like a tagline whenever these guys publish one of these horrible pieces that we've just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, everyone goes in the replies on Twitter and just asks the question. And frankly, it has become a troll, but it's a real legitimate question that basically, everyone wanted to know, because there's this website. I don't think they get much ad revenue. I have an ad blocker. Frankly, I'm not even sure if they have ads, but if they do, I don't think they're really funding a large newsroom, if it is that large, with that money. And everyone just wondered, like, who is funding this crazy stuff? How are you staying afloat? And so, as I said before, the executives, the upper level management people, the editors, are extremely sensitive about this. However, they recently formed a nonprofit, and we'll get, which essentially means that they're going to be taking donations from probably other foundations or other nonprofits, and therefore, if you have a nonprofit giving to another group, the donor nonprofit has to disclose where the money comes. Where their money is going.
Why do you think they did this now after not having this nonprofit and being able to get away with secretly having these funders? What was do you know the reasoning behind them doing this?
I mean, honestly, the only real thing that makes sense to me is that their donors wanted to be able to give tax deductible donations. So if you're a 501c3 nonprofit, you can accept tax deductible donations. So therefore, these donors they're not paying whatever percentage they would have to pay. I mean, sorry, they're getting the tax deduction, excuse me, from their taxes every year. So, really, I mean, a lot of really rich people just want to be as rich as possible, so they want to get that little deduction every year, in addition to having funding, crazy causes. So, I mean, I don't know why else they would really do it.
Right, right. Uh, Maybe, and I forgot to mention this up top when we're discussing them. Google Ads. What was this? Was this? It was this year, June of 2020. Google Ads basically cut or threatened to cut the Federalist off because of the racism in the
Oh yeah,
comment section on the website.
not surprising. I missed that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I remember they made a whole big deal about it, and tech law experts had to like even jump in and be like, no, Google has a right to do that because they were claiming like illegal censorship and trying to cut them off and deplatform them and
Google's
no,
not the government. I mean,
right,
people don't
right,
understand about free speech. It's like it doesn't apply to like a private company. It's about a public square. So
right.
that's another discussion. But look, these people are not smart. They're not smart. I'm telling you. And I think I don't think they even realized that donations were going to be public record to the foundation.
So you don't think they were even prepared for this?
Well, so I started the article out with a funny anecdote because Molly Hemingway, I think in the middle of last year, was on a podcast with one of those Weinstein guys, and she basically called people literally asking the question, "Who funds the Federalist?" She characterized that as a kind of a veiled attack. They're trying to silence us. They're trying to shut us down just by asking who is funding us. Now, meanwhile, a couple months earlier, they had just gotten their 501c3 certification from the IRS. So they became a nonprofit eligible to accept tax deductible donations. So I'd be kind of surprised if she really realized that any nonprofit that gives to them is going to have to disclose where the money's going.
Right, right. So let's jump in now. So who funds? Let me ask you straight up, Alex. Who funds the Federalist?
Well, we have one family that we can tell you for sure, and that's the Uline family. That's Richard and Liz Uline. They're Illinois-based right-wing GOP mega donors. They're billionaires. They run the company Uline, which is spelled a little more simply than their name is spelled. The company is just Uline. It's a shipping supply company, so you've probably seen boxes with the little Uline logo. If you haven't, you're going to start noticing them now because they are everywhere. This is why they're billionaires. And they, Richard Uline, this year in the 2020 federal elections, is the fifth largest donor to outside spending groups, mostly super PACs. Of $63 million and counting. I think he's probably putting a little more money into Georgia because we have these special elections coming up. So they're major Republican donors, and like I mentioned just now, I think probably instead of funding directly the Federalist, now he can go through his family foundation, the Ed Uline Family Foundation, and that's the foundation that gave $400,000 to the Federalist Media Foundation. I believe last August. So their nonprofit is giving a donation to the Federalist nonprofit, that's the New York Times in August had a report on that. That's based on a couple private conversations that they had with people who were in the know that Richard Uline was a funder. But this is the first time that we have actual evidence on paper in the record that he is actually a funder. We know how much. It's 400,000 last year, and I expect this year it is probably more.
Geez, 400,000. That pays quite a number of staffers. Just
Think
outright.
Think about if you could hire several people, and you could really beef up your operation with that. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, just if someone wanted to give me a quarter of that, I would beef up this operation. I could probably beef up this operation even more so than the Federalist puts to use their 400,000. That's how crazy 400,000 is to me. Because I can really penny pinch, Alex.
Yeah, well, us in the independent media, but without the billionaire backers, that is. But and you mentioned Roy Moore earlier, and that's actually interesting because it just kind of occurred to me, because I know that the Uline supported Roy Moore. I mean, they're very far right. They support the really fringe candidates. So the idea that the Ulines may have been funding the Federalists while the Federalists wrote that, that exoneration of Roy Moore for basically being a pedophile, is interesting.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so I
That's
think
it.
this is 2017. This is before, obviously, the donation that we know about. But it's entirely possible that they could have been getting Uline money at the time. It just wasn't being donated by the Uline Foundation.
Who else specifically do you know that the Ulines support? Like, who else do they fund? Who else are they backing? Whether it's other media groups or even politicians, are they big? I'm assuming big Trump people.
Yeah, they're major Trumpers. Liz Uline was on the 2016 Trump campaign's like economic council. I guess that just basically means like they're helping to fundraise. So they've been allies of Trump since at least the middle of 2016. I don't think they were like holdouts or anything. You know, they weren't really never Trump for too long, if at all. But the Ed Uline Foundation, just in 2019 alone, I mean, they gave to the Daily Caller News Foundation 25K, so not as much. They fund the Media Research Center, which is Brent Bizel's like right wing, just hackery. They pretend they're a watchdog, but it's really just right wing propaganda. They also fund the Real Clear Foundation, which is the foundation tied to Real Clear Politics, Real Clear Media Group. They gave 350K to Real Clear last year. And also, as something I explain in my articles, that the Real Clear Foundation has a link to the Federalist through their publisher and their CEO, who are actually affiliated with the Federalist company, which is separate from the foundation, but it's all kind of mixed together.
Right. Right. So they've. It seems like from I'm trying to think of the all the numbers you just dropped. It seems like the Federalist is their biggest receiver of donations from them in terms of just the overall amount of money.
It's not the biggest recipient, but among media groups, it's probably one of the biggest. I mean, I just listed a few just from my article, but there's a lot. I mean, this is a big foundation with probably 100 or 150 recipients every year. But they did drop a big amount, 3.2 million, to this group called the Foundation for Government Accountability, which is just a Florida-based kind of right-wing think tank. But what's notable about them is they this year they were trying to they were advocating for states to rescind the Medicaid expansions that they had done. So they wanted to kick people off of Medicaid during the pandemic. So that's to give you kind of an idea of like what these groups are, whether they're right-wing propaganda news sites or they're just these awful kind of legal think tanks that want to kick people off of benefits, in a terrible crisis.
Well, first of all, I want to say that $3.2 million is an obscene amount of money, but I guess it makes sense that you'd give think tanks the big bucks and the lowly media outlets to spread that propaganda from the think tank a significant amount less, even though $400,000 is still a lot of money. But it makes sense, I guess, that if you're looking to push for kicking people off of Medicaid during a pandemic, you'd want the media outlet you fund to downplay the pandemic.
Yeah, well, but also, I mean, it really does, like, and you and I both, we cover the right, like that, like that's what we do, right? So it's like, you really start to wonder what's going on inside these people's heads, and you're like, do they want people to die? Like, is that what they want? Do they want the poorest to die? Like, because, I mean, look at the Trump administration and what they've done. I mean, like 300,000 deaths, and they're still just whatever. Haha, Giuliani got it. He'll be fine. He got all the treatments. Like you just wonder what is the end game here? Are they trying to kill off the poor people? I don't know.
Right. I mean, I think we both know, but we don't want.
I mean, like kind of, yeah. I guess like like I just did a report and I'm kind of like I just like I don't want that to be true, but it's like it probably depends on the person. Like some of them are so delusional that they maybe just don't really. Although, by the way, the Ulines got the virus last month. They got it.
The whole family.
Well, I mean, Liz and Richard. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know who else is around, but yeah, the elderly couple who still run the company, they got the virus, and this was not long after they attended some kind of White House election night party. So talk about the super spreaders.
And they got through it. It seems they're now a-okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, all these extremely wealthy people, they get the best stuff.
Right.
You know,
I mean, we've seeing this. Yeah, it's unbelievable that that I don't you see all these people in Trump's orbit, in Trump's circle, get COVID, and only one of them
The one who
died.
died was what, Herman Cain, right?
Herman Cain,
Only one.
and I mean that says a lot too. That even among the very rich, even Trump's one of two of Trump's black friends couldn't even like it affects minority groups that much that even the one guy from Trump's orbit who died was a
Well,
black man.
remember Ben Carson didn't Ben Carson get it, and he said he was like almost deathly ill. He's like, I barely survived. Like
Right.
if it weren't for the treatment I got. Chris Christie made it. Now that I mean that one was. I mean, it's like if anyone's going to die from it, it's probably going to be him. But no, he made it. He
Right.
was hospitalized very badly, but he made it.
Right. And just to be clear to everyone listening, the reason we're saying that is because of Chris Christie's various physical conditions that make coronavirus more dangerous for you to get, not because we're particularly rooting for Chris Christie to.
No, he's got some of those comorbidities
Right.
that are supposed to make it worse.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I was shocked by. I've been shocked by it all. I'm just surprised over and over again about just I mean because it's not so much like they didn't die phooey. No, it's actually damn. So you mean to tell me that literally much smaller percentage of people could have passed away if they just all got the same care that these incredibly rich, wealthy, powerful people got? I mean, it's not like we're dealing with a disease apparently that no amount of medical attention can fix. Apparently, we now know that if you have the medical attention that comes along with being very rich and powerful, you could actually almost assuredly make it through. Maybe like 99% get over this.
Seems like
It's
it.
yeah.
And it's also just this whole story. It's just worse and worse. Like the more I dug around, because so like the Liz Uline is the CEO of the company Uline, and they were in back in April, May, and stuff. I mean, she was minimizing the virus. I think she said it was overhyped, and she was insisting that their employees go into work. And they apparently weren't giving them enough space to be physically distanced at the time. So she was endangering her workers while minimizing it. And then a month before they got it, so in October, she went to. They have a facility in Ontario, Canada, and she was exempted from Canada. Canada has like a 14-day quarantine policy for anyone who's entering. Probably the province, but the country for sure, especially from the U.S. And she was completely exempted. She went to go visit the facility, and then people there at the facility said that the workers were not wearing. No one was wearing masks. I don't know if the workers or was some executive suite, but nobody was wearing masks at the facility. There were some complaints about that. So I mean, it's just really it's pretty insidious. But it really does make sense why they're going to fund an outlet that is in line with their own rhetoric and their own kind of practice about the virus.
Right. Right. So let's now jump to another major funder that now, like I said earlier, there were some rumors about the Ulines that I think it was like a New York Times piece over the summer. They didn't have any proof like you have now, but apparently some of the people they spoke to, some of their sources said that they had it on good information that it's that the Ulines give money to the Federalists. They didn't have numbers like you do, but it was out there. But you now have another funder that I've never seen anything attaching them to the Federalist, even among the rumor mill. Who are the other funders of the Federalist?
So that's right. Yeah, we're proud to say that we were the first to report that Donors Trust, which is kind of considered the quote unquote dark. I should say it like you with the quotes, the dark money ATM of the conservative movement. So Donors Trust, it's not surprising in retrospect, but it's just that it hadn't really happened before. And that's just because, again, the Federalist Media Foundation wasn't formed until 2018, didn't get its tax status until 2019. So last year was the first year that they could give. So what Donors Trust is a donor advised fund sponsor. So what that means basically is it's a vehicle for wealthy people to create individual charitable accounts that then Donors Trust manages. They invest the money. They're basically money managers. And then as a client of Donors Trust, you direct them, or you quote unquote advise them to give the money from that account that they manage to the various nonprofits. It has to be nonprofits, I believe. I'm not sure if you can give to C4s, it might just be C3s, but they have to be nonprofits that are approved by the Donors Trust board. Um, but they're very lax with it, and we'll probably talk in a second about their worst donation of last year. So the point is that donors essentially, I want your viewers to understand that this is a double tax benefit that rich people get, because what donor advised fund sponsors allow is you can donate appreciable assets. So that's stock or land or private business shares, anything that can increase in value, right? Like a stock. So you can donate that stock to your account with Donors Trust, and you get a capital gains tax deduction. So you don't have to pay the capital gains tax, which you would normally pay on the sale of a stock, right? Because you're selling it to a nonprofit. Because Donors Trust itself is a nonprofit. So, and then you also get the charitable tax deduction that anyone might get when you donate money to a nonprofit, right? So you're getting a double tax benefit. And that's a way of wealthy people kind of retaining a little more money, obviously, like giving more money to charity, and then finally, just to impress upon this point too, is that your name is then anonymized. So the donors who gave the money that ended up going to the Federalist Media Foundation, we don't know their names because they gave to Donors Trust. So Donors Trust is a middleman, and then on the tax records you only see Donors Trust. Right.
So is this like I guess not a direct analogy, but it sort of reminds me of like a 401k of right wing donations, like where you don't know exactly what you're. Well, I guess it's the opposite, because then you wouldn't know what you invested. Yeah. You as with mine with 401k, you don't know exactly. You have no power over exactly what you invest in. Mm-hmm. But with the donor trust, they know what they're investing in, but they have no power. I don't know where my analogy is going anymore.
Yeah, well, it's no, but I get what you're saying. It's pretty complex, and it's a fairly, I mean, it's a relatively new kind of type of philanthropy that's gaining traction really, really fast because of that double tax benefit. And also the thing is, when you have an account with something like Donors Trust, there's a lot out there. It's just Donors Trust is one of the few ideological ones. Most of them are, there's one affiliated with Fidelity Investments, there's Vanguard, there's Schwab. They all have them, right? They're really, really big charities. But Donors Trust and Donors Capital Fund, which is a sister group, they're run by the same team. They are ideologically very conservative. They only give to conservative causes, basically, for the most part. There's the National Christian Foundation that gives to Christian causes, and they give to some really nefarious groups, by the way. But Donors Trust is really known as the main kind of conservative dark money ATM.
So who are some of the people do we know some of these names that put money into Donors Trust?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's a who's who of kind of the right-wing GOP mega donors. Charles Koch is one of the most prominent funders of Donors Trust. You have the Mercer family, Robert Mercer, Rebecca Mercer, very notorious as well. Big Trumpies. Also, Robert Mercer was an investor in Breitbart, so another one of these lovely far-right media outlets. Also, the DeVos family, Betsy DeVos, the education secretary, her very wealthy billionaire family, they use it. And it's interesting because these are all rich conservatives who have their own foundations. They don't really need to use the donor advised fund like Donors Trust, but there's the double tax benefit, and there's also the ability to anonymize their names. If they want to donate somewhere without anybody knowing publicly, they can do it that way. I'm not saying they do. There's no proof. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them do that.
So do they get to? I just want to make sure I'm understanding this right. So the people these like the Kochs and the Mercers, when they donate to Donors Trust, do they have a say over exactly like who in Donors Trust decides what organizations get the donations from these people?
I mean, basically, the way that it really works is the Kochs and the Mercers, they decide, right? They're just telling Donors Trust, give me the tax break and then give it to whoever I want, whenever I want. That's how it works. Now on paper, and I think this is the legal situation. The Donors Trust board does have to approve of the nonprofit first. But if they have a wealthy, like major powerful person like Charles Koch, do you think they're going to tell him, no, you can't give to this or that? There's no way that's happening.
Right.
They have the ability to, but
Right. Could anyone just say, I want to give to Donors Trust, or is it like a VIP? I mean, obviously you need money,
Um,
but do they get to
I think
pick? No, go
you'd
ahead.
need a. I think there's a minimum investment you have to make. I'd have to just check it. I think it's 5 or 10 thousand. It's probably 10. Um, so you have to have at least, 5 figures of disposable money just to put in that account for charity. Um, so aside from that, I doubt it. I don't think they really care who you are. I mean, but like, they have the reputation for only donating to conservative causes. So like, if you go there and you're trying to donate to the ACLU, I'm not sure about that. If you're trying to donate to Greenpeace, yeah, forget that. Donors Trust funds the Heartland Institute, which is one of the worst climate change denying groups, and also one where it's really hard to track the donors. Not a lot of foundations are going to give directly to them because they're embarrassed because they're so bad. But yep, Donors Trust does it. So that's kind of one of the main purposes, I believe, of Donors Trust is to anonymize the donations. So they have a list of basically all the right wing causes that they're happy for you to donate to. But I don't think it's going to work if Soros wanted to do a Donors Trust account. I think they would probably have to say no.
Now you yeah, right. Now you wrote a separate piece specifically on Donors Trust
Hmm.
just a couple of days ago, and before this Federalist piece, and one particular receiver of these donations has really stood out to me because, like you mentioned, the Heartland is obviously a despicable organization, but there's an organization even more despicable, and that is VDare.
That's right. Yeah. So this was a real shocker, actually. First of all, yeah, Donors Trust, to my knowledge, and the knowledge of the outlet that I work for, the Center for Media and Democracy. I mean, we've been tracking Donors Trust and the whole right for many years. I've never seen Donors Trust give to an explicitly white nationalist hate group. They've given to anti-Muslim hate groups, anti-immigrant hate groups, anti-LGBTQ hate groups. I mean, they've been bad for a while. But there is kind of a mental separation, I think, in our country between it's all despicable, equally despicable to me, but there is unfortunately this kind of separation between that kind of hate and then the white nationalist hate, because it's kind of like Nazis. It has this special meaning in America, right? So, but this time around, 2019, they decided to allow their donor to donate to $1.5 million to VDARE Foundation. So speaking of a lot of money,
One
and
point five mil. I'm like V. I'm baffled. Like, because we
well,
were talking about how the Federalist got 400K, and they're like a legitimate. When I say legitimate, I mean a company. They have staffers and lots of people who work for writers, editors. So they might be pushing propaganda, but they have a whole employee list. Whereas VDare, it's like a couple of white nationalists. I mean, we're
yeah,
literally that could fund them for many, many, many years.
well, and I'll explain in a second why it's actually not going to last very long. But to put that money in perspective, their 2018 revenue VDare was something like 400 and some thousand dollars, and I believe maybe a little over 500. So the 1.5 million was roughly 3 times their entire 2018 revenue, what they got the next year. And it just so happens that a few months later, early 2019, they bought a castle for $1.4 million in West Virginia, overseeing a very small town. They literally have a white nationalist castle in West Virginia. So what I would be shocked if this donation wasn't specifically given to buy the castle. Here's the 1.4 million and a little extra. Buy the castle and enjoy your fucking white nationalist castle. I mean, it's that's how crazy this whole story is.
Wow. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty. Jeez. Do we know how many people actually work at VDare?
I haven't looked. I don't think there's a real way to know. I mean, if you look at their tax return, because they're a nonprofit, by the way, which should never happen. The IRS should not be giving hate groups tax 501c3 tax status, but sadly, that's how things are in our country. So I don't know, but I don't recall there being many names on the list. So their board at least is very small. I mean, It's not a big staff. That's a colossal amount of money for them to take in. It's also by far the biggest donation that I've ever seen to any white nationalist hate group, and I've been tracking that for several years now. Usually, you're seeing increments of 1,000, 2,000, maybe 10 or 15, 20,000. $1.5 million is bonkers to be giving to a white nationalist group. So I called them out. I got in touch with their press person, and I said, listen, like, I've never seen this before. Can you give me an explanation for this? And their CEO, Lawson Bader, gave me a quote, and it was basically like, it was, again, the story just gets crazier and crazier. The quote was basically, first of all, he lied and said that the donors decide where the money goes. That's not true. The money's legally donors' trusts, and they say in their documentation that the board has to approve the nonprofits. So first of all, that's not true. Second of all, he evokes a 1958 court case that protected the donors to the NAACP, because donors to the NAACP in 1958, in Jim Crow, in the civil rights era, were literally threatened with their lives. Right? This is a black civil rights group. So he invokes, a black civil rights group's kind of donor protection case from 1958 in order to justify giving to a white nationalist hate group. It doesn't get more ridiculous than that.
Right. I mean, that is. I'm still in shock over the fact that, because, like you said, also a lot of donations to these different white nationalist outlets and organizations, they're usually, like you said, like small donations from like individuals, or B, even when the big donation comes in, which was nowhere near, still, we're talking like maybe a couple tens of thousands of dollars, it's usually through some like decentralized anonymous currency like Bitcoin, so it can't be traced to whomever. Like, that's pretty.
Yeah, Bitcoin, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty like in your face for Donors Trust to just give 1.5 you said?
Yeah. Yep.
$1 million.
Slightly more. And when I called them out, first of all, they gave me that quote. And then after it is when we found there some internal documents that said that the board had to approve it. And then we found another one from a different organization. It was kind of a right-wing group called the Capital Research Center. And they were basically surveying all the donor advised fund sponsors on the right. And they said basically, Donors Trust, they claim the Donors Trust, the board, the recipient of the money, it doesn't just have to be approved, it has to be in line with their mission. So, like, this is saying that this white nationalist hate group is in line with the mission of Donors Trust. And I have not heard back from them ever since. I've sent them 2 emails to try to follow up to get some explanation. Can't believe they're not getting back to me about that.
All right. Well, I just want to put out a call to anyone listening who happens to be a rich, wealthy, and wants to be an anonymous benefactor and donate to a kind, leftist, ethnically Jew person to combat the donation to VDARE. I will be happy to take half that amount, not even half, a quarter of that amount, and buy a nice little apartment overseeing somewhere in like Brooklyn or Queens.
No doomed castle, huh? Just like the doomed flat.
Yeah, I just need. I'm very maybe even upgrade to a nice little loft, the doomed loft.
Or a cot. What about a cot? Just a little cottage.
A little cot, a little, and maybe if I'm feeling extra generous to myself, I'll take that money and move out a little bit to maybe like upstate a little bit and get the nice little doomed cabin or something like that.
Yeah, you can walk around without a mask up there. It'll be great.
So Alex. These are the 2 major funders? Do we know anyone else at this point, or is this all that we've got right now? I mean, because there's got to be more, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, and I think probably more is going to come in as we uncover more of these tax records. So our research director, David Armiak, is like this public records sleuth, and he's always getting the tax records before anybody else. So that's why I was able to report this, because he obtained them. So we've got more coming in from other right-wing foundations. There's a decent chance we might see another Federalist Media Foundation donation or 2. We might have to wait till next year. I think probably in 2020 they should be getting more. But again, I don't know. I mean, they're pretty fringe. Like the Ulines are donating. I'm not sure. I don't really think the Charles Koch Foundation is going to donate to them. They're extreme in other ways, but I don't think they're going to donate to the Federalist. But who knows? We'll have to see.
Right.
But we do know an investor, something that was I think discovered last year by Andrew Perez, reporter. for the Daily Poster now, was that there's a foundation called the George E. Coleman Jr. Foundation that had invested in the Federalist Media LLC, the company that had given out that. Actually, we haven't gotten there yet, but that had offered some debt securities in a filing with the SEC. So the point is, in 2018, the Coleman Foundation had a tax return that said that they invested about 150K in the Federalist. I think they had seen some losses on that, actually. Not surprising. But one of the trustees of that foundation is named Daniel Oliver, and he's a former Reagan official. And he subsequently was the executive editor of the National Review, so another right-wing publication. He's no longer there.
Right.
And also National Review has an institute, which is their nonprofit arm. They also get funding from Donors Trust and some of these other big wigs on the right. So there's a lot of kind of cross-pollination here with a lot of these people and their foundations and the media outlets.
What is this about? What's the connection to the publisher of Real Clear Politics?
Right, and that's the only other link that we know. And this isn't necessarily a money link, ostensibly, but basically we know that Federalist Media LLC, the company behind the website, at least as of 2017, there was an SEC filing offering up debt securities. So Federalist was trying to get people to invest in their debt or something. So listed on the filing, their officers were listed. One of them was John McIntyre, who's the president and CEO of Real Clear Media. And then there was someone named Jen McIntyre, who I'm pretty sure is his wife, but I wasn't able to confirm that today. She was listed as a director of the Federalist Media LLC and also an executive officer, so more involved on the staff. And they also listed the same address in Chicago as the Federalist, as Real Clear Media. So Real Clear and the Federalist Media are being run out of the same office, at least as of 2017 they were. So they're very closely aligned. Obviously, they share staff. So I'm sure there's a lot of funding overlap there. Real Clear, they have a foundation. They get a lot of money from right-wing donors. So I think they're very related and intertwined.
Right, yeah, that's interesting because especially the office thing, but because Real Clear Politics, they weren't always like so right wing. Like they just seem to have like people once trusted them as like a legitimate poll aggregator, and if it's on Real Clear Politics, it most likely has a analysis that sort of. I usually don't agree that there's some sort of unopinionated one, but one that tries to get as far away from a progressive leaning or conservative leaning, to try to, come across as like, we're just telling it as it is without any analysis giving you one opinion or the other. They had that sort of, aura around them for quite a while. And then, of course, the Trump era came around and they decided to throw that all out the window and become as right-wing as possible. Well, not as possible, but at least more right than they used to be. There's certainly much more right-wing they could get.
It was the New York Times characterized it as a sharp right turn. They wrote a piece last month about it. I think, like a lot of these outlets, they basically just had no spine when Trump came into office, and they were just like, oh, I guess we got to support the guy, otherwise we're doomed. And the Weekly Standard didn't, and they had to fold. So it probably wasn't super lucrative to be never Trumpy, or to be, unless you write your opinion writer for the Washington Post, like Max Boot or somebody. But like if you're trying to run an outlet that's already conservative, it probably is hard. So what did they do? They just took a hard right turn and they just joined the propaganda that everyone else is. Now, they're a news aggregator, and they kind of like republish or link to stories around the web, and they do have the poll aggregator, which generally is respected until this year. I did see some other people saying, they're not really it's not really like they're like overvaluing crappy polls and stuff like that. So I think it's lost some credibility, but I don't think people accuse the polling aggregate of being like right wing. It's just bad. Whereas the actual what they produce is usually pretty right wing. And again, they have this foundation that funds their investigative work. So they actually do investigative pieces. Just a lot of them are wrong. Right.
So, Alex, thank you so much for finding out, at least so far, just some of the people who fund the Federalist, I guess. Mm-hmm. And you'll find out more, and I hope you'll come on the show again and break down exactly who else funds the Federalist. But before we go, speaking about all these right-wing media organizations, it's important for people on the left and leftists, socialists, progressives, etc., to have their own sort of media outlets to combat the propaganda that comes out of the right. Like I said, most of these progressive and leftist outlets take facts and provide you a leftist analysis, whereas on the opposite side, you have the right wing just making up bullshit to push their own agenda. But to fight back against the right, the left needs to have more media organizations and groups that basically help spread the word. And you have created one such outlet that's bringing together all these different leftist media outlets under one umbrella. Could you tell us a little bit about that project you're working on?
Absolutely, yeah. It's called Opt Out, and it's going to be a nonprofit news aggregator app for exclusively independent media. And there will be no right-wing propaganda, that's for sure. And there also, of course, won't be the corporate media. So this is going to be an app where we're going to launch the beta version in March. And I'm working with Walker Bragman, who's another journalist and great friend of mine. And we're working with the Progressive Coders Network, which is a nonprofit, a 501c4 nonprofit that they're just excellent coders who are progressives, kind of do volunteer work on the side when they can to support causes they like. And so I recruited a group from there because I had no money, and people recommended that as a good potential place to find developers. And so we've been working on it since about maybe June or July with them. And it's going really well. So we have about 85 or so partners now, including Doomed. I'm really excited to be promoting your work. And it's unlike any other news app because we give equal say to articles, to podcasts, and to videos. So we can have YouTubers, we can have podcasts, we can have articles. And we're not republishing. We're linking directly to the site. So they're getting the clicks, they're getting the data. The click data, they're getting ad revenue if they have ads. Many don't, but if they do, we want to respect that. So, but we're just providing an aggregator, like a news app that people can use, and you can go on there and you're never going to see CNN, you're never going to see New York Times, you're never going to see MSNBC, you're definitely not going to see anything Fox related. So you're going to go and get a completely corporate media narrative free news experience and opinion experience, and we're pretty excited about it.
Now, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm going to give an analogy here, and I say this meaning because I think this guy has created something that is very effective, which is why it's so dangerous that he's created it for the right. It'll be sort of like a Drudge Report for the left.
I thought you were going to say that. You're not the first person. In a way, yeah. Although we're doing it with like new technology, and we're trying to get people onto an app. It's not a social media app. But it is going to be, it's going to look good. It's going to be sleek and smooth and high tech. The Drudge Report is kind of the opposite, right? It's a big blog, sort of with links and funny fonts. But a very smart venture, and he actually ended up being never Trump, which I have to respect in a way. I don't respect what he's done as a person in his life, right. But I do. You do got to respect the guy. Many people did not have the courage to do this. So,
the amount of money that guy's made off of a news aggregator is incredible. So I hope you guys make even a portion of that because you would be very successful. And
right. I hope we get good revenue, but we are a nonprofit. We're waiting for our status actually. So, but we've applied as a 501c3. So, we're in it to help out independent media and the individual creators. So we're not. If we wanted to make money, we couldn't even in this structure, and we don't want to. So we want to put it back into growing our nonprofit. Staffing up, getting a unionized staff and supporting our workers and ourselves, but also really more importantly, supporting the whole kind of, independent media ecosystem, which is in dire straits. But yeah, I don't think there's no aggregator that's putting Substack newsletters like we're going to do. There isn't an aggregator. I think that's going to have a lot of great YouTubers like yourself and, No McKee, Const, and everybody, Katie Halper, and everyone else who we've got partnered already. That I don't think the product doesn't exist, and that's why we decided to do it. We're just sitting there during COVID, early in March when we had to go into lockdown in New York, and Walker and I talked a lot. We were just like, we need this thing. Like I just woke up one day, I was like, I'm sick of looking at Apple News. This thing sucks. Like, but it's on my phone, so I use it, right? But I don't want to be
Right.
using it. I want to use something else,
I
and
like
it's
that.
actually going to happen now.
I like that analogy there. It's like an Apple News for only left wing media. That's maybe even better than my Drudge Report analogy. That's
Well,
because
yeah. I mean, I think
Apple
our
News is
actually,
slick. It's really easy to like find particularly like a specific. So I could imagine with like a leftist one, like if you're looking for a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel, that'd be cool. I'm looking forward to opt out. I'm really happy to be a part of it. Thank you for asking me. And I just want to let
oh,
everyone know that
absolutely.
I'm going to make this public. I apologize for still making you wait for the Doomed media stuff you need to put Doomed on your app. I've been telling you I have it coming. I swear to you, if I had it already, I would give it to you. It's just taking forever on my end. So you'll get it soon,
Well,
though, I
well, never
promise.
fear. I mean, you're still in there, man. Your podcast has a feed, your YouTube has a feed, so you're in there. It's just a matter of updating the graphics. That's all. So it'll happen. Like I said, March beta launch, and people can find us optoutnews.org. We also have a Substack. I can send you that link. I think it's just optout.substack.com. We do a weekly news roundup of our partners' content, so that's kind of fun. Um, and then on Twitter, we're just at opt out app. Also, we have an Instagram now. I just started doing Instagram for the first time. It's not my favorite platform, but I figured
Yeah.
we should probably do it. We're saying fuck Facebook. Hey, I don't like Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, but we're doing Instagram. I know they're owned by Facebook, but it's separate. And hopefully, they'll be broken up and it'll be completely
Yeah.
separate. There's a new lawsuit now, but we're also at opt out app on Instagram. So there are my plugs.
Awesome. Everyone go check out Opt Out and prepare for the launch next year. And what you can do right now, though, after liking all of those Opt Out and following all those Opt Out social media platforms, is check out the piece that we discussed today. Where can people check that out? I mean, I put it in the description on YouTube and on the Patreon, but why don't you plug it yourself, Alex?
Yeah, yeah. So our website is exposedbycmd.org, and it's going to be on the homepage there. And we've got a Twitter as well, and of course, I have my Twitter at Alex Kotch, Kotch. So if you just follow all those things, you're going to be golden, and you're going to have the most amazing social media experience of your life. So that's my humble brag. Just kidding.
Alex Koch, reporter for the Center for Media and Democracy, co-host for the Gilded Age podcast, and of course, the co-founder. That's correct, right? Of Opt
Yep.
Out. Thank you so much for joining me on this emergency live stream / podcast. Again, I saw this Who Funded the Federalist piece, and I was like, holy, we need to have a show ASAP, and you were available tonight, so we did it tonight. Thank you so much for the last minute, joining me last minute tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. Big fan of the show. And now, believe me, this does not signal the time to stop asking the people who work at the Federalist who funds them. You just got to say who else funds the Federalist. And I think you'll probably get blocked as well. But we'll see. Maybe they'll change their practices.
All right.
Probably.
We have to make that just as meme friendly as who funds
Yeah.
the
Right.
Federalist. Who else funds the Federalist? Have a great night, Alex. Thanks a lot.
All right. You too. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bloop bloop. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me put my volume up because apparently what happens, people complained last week. I don't know when this started, but the live stream app I use to do this show, it has a Skype integration built right in, which makes it great for pulling guests into the app. But for some reason, apparently, the audio levels completely drop when the Skype call is over. I hope that's now fixed. It seems like that should be fixed. I don't know if it is. Who knows? Let me know. Does it sound fine? Does the audio sound fine, everybody? Low audio, someone said. Okay, there we go. So I'll have to put it up. Let's see. Does that change anything, everybody? Is that better? Not fixed. How about now? Ooh, well, I'll try my best to. Let me see. Does this make it louder? Not fixed. Everyone's saying, ouch. Low. Oh boy, that's not good. I gotta let the creators of this app know what's going on. How about now? Is that doing? Is that doing it? Is that doing it? Is that fixing anything? Is that better? Okay, better. Says the people in the chat. All right, sorry about that, everybody. I'm gonna let them know that the creators of this app that I use, Ecamm Live. Honestly, I really enjoy using it. It makes live streaming very simple if you're a solo streamer. OBS and other streaming platforms, like you need sort of like a, you know, I mean, you could do it by yourself, but those apps usually are a lot easier to have someone working on the audio. But this one makes it really easy to do the show solo. Anyway, patreon.com/Matt Binder. Support the show. No one will be asking who funds Doomed with Matt Binder, because the answer is you guys. Without my patrons, this show would not exist. And they don't give me $400,000 like the Ulines give the Federalist. They give me, there's some people who give more than 5, but most people give around, there's people who give more than 10 even. But not many. I enjoy please, if you want to give more, I will certainly take it. But all I ask is $5. $5 a month helps fund this show, makes this show possible, helps this show grow. In fact, if it looks a little bit different, it's because I'm kind of low to the feet, aren't I? I have to fix them. Oh, look, now the now the green screen's all messed up. Let me fix that. Whew. There we go. That should be fixed. Oh no, it's not. There we go. Now that should be fixed. I'm testing out, like you guys I've mentioned before. I moved recently, just last month, and I have this little studio now, and I'm testing out different things. I basically got a new desk. And unfortunately, I probably have to deassemble it and return it because it's not perfect. I'll show you guys. I'll show the members if you want to see what's going on in the studio. The update for the studio. You gotta join the Patreon, and that's personal stuff for just the members, people who pay me money. So that's patreon.com/Matt Binder. The people who joined since the last time we had a show, I always name those people. Is we got here. Let me pull up the Patreon page. My newest patrons, Austin C. I'm not sure if I read your name last time, Austin C., but I definitely didn't read these two. Matt M. and Ryan F. Thank you so much for becoming patrons and helping this show continue to grow. If you can't afford to, and trust me, I totally get if you can't. We lost a few patrons at the beginning of this month because of different issues, and I totally understand. Please only give money if you can afford to do so. Times are tough. There's a pandemic. I totally get it. Please. You can support this show without any financial donation by going to youtube.com/MattBinder, subscribing to the YouTube channel. Go to twitch.tv/MattBinder. Follow the Twitch channel. At Matt Binder on Twitter, at Matt Binder on Instagram, search Matt Binder on Facebook. What else? Just look wherever you're on social media. I'm probably there. Type in Matt Binder. I'll show up. Whether I'm at Matt Binder there or not, I'll show up. Doomedpod.com for the audio version of this show, and also for the iTunes and Google Play links. Leave an iTunes or Google Play review if you can. Really prefer, not prefer, well, I do prefer, I guess, but really appreciate is the word I'm looking for. iTunes reviews. They do help push me up the iTunes ranks. I actually got a little email from a company that tracks iTunes rankings all across the world in different countries. And not this country, Doomed is not a country, but Doomed, the podcast, the show, the podcast version of the show, I should say, was trending in some very random countries, actually, after you guys helped, after there was I remember there was an open call a couple of weeks ago where I really stressed leaving iTunes reviews. I got an email from one of those iTunes charts tracker companies saying, hey, by the way, you're spiking in like Bermuda and Norway and Sweden on the news commentary category on iTunes. We were like in like the top 20 of those charts in some of those countries. It's crazy, I think. So leave an iTunes review if you can. The star review or the written review. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I can't remember what else. I think that's it for now. If there's anything else, I'll let you guys know. Let your let your friends, your family know about this show. Let your favorite YouTubers or podcasters know that you want me on their show if you want me on their show, and tell them that you want them on my show if you want them on my show. And let's go to the second half of the show for patrons, or if you're on the live stream. For now, we'll let you continue to stick around and catch it. But for everybody else, we will be seeing you all next time on Doomed. All right, we are back. I don't know what's going on here with the Skype, the audio when I go on Skype and when I go off Skype. I'm kind of bummed out about it. Um, oh, look at that. Zoe found my old website. Uh, oh, I forgot the super chat. Oh, I forgot to plug the super chat. That's why I got no super chats today. God damn it. Renee gave me a super chat. How nice. Renee with the super chat. Make it rain, George Soros. That's completely my fault, though. Completely my fault. And that's why it's not raining, George Soros. Because I forgot to plug the super chat. I need a drink. Oh, man. But thank you for the super chat, Renee. Oh, and Samantha Cider with a super chat. Buddy thinks Kobe was killed in a Q-anus conspiracy. Well, I mean... But anyway, if you want to give a super chat, question, comment, I'll definitely get to your super chat question or comment. Yeah. So that's the way to give a one-off donation if you want. But I knew I was forgetting some plug. Ugh, the super chats on YouTube. Oh well. Well, Zoe found my old site. I need to update it because I really like the domain. Yeah, Zoe just dropped it in the chat. The number one thing, that's just I don't know why that's there, but you don't need that there. If you go to mattb.in/der, that's my old website. That's actually the URL that I sent Sam Cedar back in March of 2011 when he put up that fateful Craigslist post looking for a producer. And I responded to the call, sent him that link, and I remember he specifically mentioned, that's really cool how you did that with the URL. No like .com or .net, and it just says your name straight up, mattb.in/der. And I'm pretty sure that's why he hired me, because he saw I was clever like that. Oh, you like my son's Chuck E. Cheese cup? I love Chuck E. Cheese. I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says. People make fun of it. When you have kids, you'll understand. Something like a Chuck E. Cheese just makes their, brightens them up. Just the look on my son's face when he goes to Chuck E. Cheese. Unfortunately, the local Chuck E. Cheese has been closed since COVID. Oddly enough, it's sort of like in limbo. I don't know what's going on with it because it's been closed, but it's like still there. Other places, including unfortunately kids' play places in the area, have closed up shop, like taking their shit and taking it out, and the place is empty. But the local Chuck E. Cheese is still there. In fact, there's staffers that go in and like clean it and everything, but it hasn't opened. But when you have kids, Chuck E. Cheese, you'll get it. Or maybe you don't even need kids and you think Chuck E.'s cool, like me. People who know me, I'm a sucker for this type of shit. I mean, listen, I'm happy to all day. I'm gonna also make this clear. All day, I will criticize Disney for horrible labor practices and other horrible, shit they do. Yet at the same time, I'm a sucker for Disney theme parks and Disney movies because they're well done. Doesn't mean you have to treat your workers like the way they do. That's where we'll fight back, and But I'm a sucker for the theme parks. So Zoe found out that on my old website, I'll update it. That I was a background actor on a few shows, including Law and Order SVU. I was on an episode of SVU. I was not a speaking role. I was a back. If you live in New York, and you ever worked in any way, shape, or form in the film industry, you at some point worked as a background actor on a Law and Order. But I was a background actor on an episode of SVU where the CEO of a startup killed someone or something, like a tech startup. And I mean, I guess you could look at me and tell that they had me play one of the employees of the tech startup. And there's a scene where Elliot Stabler and Olivia Benson are talking to the CEO, and his employees are surrounding him. And Elliot Stabler and Olivia Benson walk towards the camera to end the scene. And as they're walking towards the camera, the tech startup employees fill up behind them to watch them leave, oh, what's going on? And you can clearly catch me behind Stabler and Benson, right in the background. I mean, I'm out of focus, obviously, but you can tell it's me. Also, if you are a professional wrestling fan, I wasn't paid for this, but if you're a professional wrestling fan, if you watch some of the old ECW shows from the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe? No, probably mostly the late 90s. Like 97, 98? No, I want to say 98, 99. The ones that took place at the Elks Lodge on Queens Boulevard. You can very clearly see a 12-year-old to 13-year-old Matt Binder in the front row by the entrance, slapping the backs of Rob Van Dam and Sabu and Tommy Dreamer as they walk out, because I was a regular at that point at the ECW Elks Lodge shows. And because they were general admission, you basically just had to show up early, and you could get seats that would cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars at a WWE event. But for an ECW event in the late 90s, you paid $20-$25, and you get front row right by the entranceway if you just showed up early enough. And when you're 12 and you got no job, you just got out of school and went straight to the Elks Lodge, you got a good seat. So you can catch me there too if you really want to look around for Matt Binder on film. 12-year-old Matt Binder, Daniel says, in my mind, 12-year-old Matt Binder had the same hair and beard. Listen, 12-year-old Matt Binder did not have a beard. 18-year-old Matt Binder barely had a beard. 22-year-old Matt Binder barely had a beard. I think I started working at Majority Port when I was, how old? I was, 24 maybe, I want to say. Maybe 23? And if you go back at the old Majority Port episodes, you can see Matt Binder barely had a beard. So I can assure you that Matt Binder did not have facial hair until much older. And that is very much why Matt Binder keeps the facial hair he's got and does not shave because Matt Binder's got a baby face. And Matt Binder worries that if he shaves, it'll take Matt Binder very long. I don't know why I'm keeping up with the third person, but it'll take Matt Binder very long to grow that facial hair back. So I'm keeping it where it is. Oh, you guys talking about my Tumblr that I linked there? Do you guys know that I had like a really big Tumblr? A lot of people don't know that. Like, you know, the big Twitter pages like Coping MAGA now that blew up and yes, you're racist. That one's been around for a while. But I had one of the biggest Tumblr pages on the entire platform in like 2012 and 2013. I ran the public shaming Tumblr. I don't know if any of you guys recall that. Go to publicshaming.tumblr.com. Literally, it was covered on BuzzFeed. It was on BuzzFeed did like the biggest 10 Tumblr pages, like they got the most traffic. And public shaming Tumblr was like the 6th most trafficked Tumblr when Tumblr was like at its biggest. Of course, being that I'm a terrible promoter, I did not know how to parlay that into a fan base, a bigger fan base on this YouTube show or on the podcast and grow a bigger audience there. But it's also why I have a lot of Twitter followers, because I think a lot of people started following me back from the public shaming Tumblr. Yeah, Tumblr fucked themselves over. They changed their policy and got rid of all the adult content, which was like a major community on Tumblr. And when they did that, it's not like people just stopped. Like, people who went there and ran those adult Tumblrs, like the pornographic Tumblr blogs and people who went and read those ones, it's not like they just stayed on there for that. It's just like, oh, they went on there because that was one of the few platforms that had that community and welcomed that community. And they stayed on there and also consumed their favorite video game Tumblrs and their favorite meme Tumblrs and their favorite left-wing Tumblrs, and so it helped keep the whole Tumblr community active and alive because it was something Tumblr had that other platforms did not have, or if they did, they didn't sort of, boast about it like Tumblr did. Like, Tumblr was very supportive of they were very like very sex-positive community. They were very supportive of those creators and the people who ran those blogs. And then they changed their policy and basically said, we don't want you here anymore. And it honestly killed their community. Don't what's the word I'm looking for? Don't anger your base, Don't get rid of them. Don't tell them you don't want them anymore, because then you destroy what was so special about your platform. I got a bunch of super chats. Thank you, guys. Obrero with a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Just gave you a super chat. Philip is the one who said with the super chat is the one who said, "Whoa, dope cup," about my Chuck E. Cheese cup. D7Emp, the super chat. Brad with a super chat. Mariah with a super chat, but Mariah left a comment here. I'm working late and eating hot Cheetos for dinner. What are hot Cheetos? I took a week of Twitter to find both Vosh and Destiny discourse. Why? Oh, I got really mad on Twitter the other day with Destiny. I got really mad. I don't know if I even want to talk about it. But I guess I gotta. Save it for tomorrow's show, says Snozberries. For the Majority Report Thursdays. Oh, but I just want to make this. This is the doomed episode for the week. Just because I want to do content more, obviously, but I'm thinking about doing some extra content for over the week of Christmas and New Year's, and so I'm not taking a break per se when I say I'm still giving you guys the regular episode every week, But this week is because I did the Wednesday show. I'm not going to do a Thursday show. Just want to make sure that's I don't want anyone tuning in Thursday tomorrow on. But I will be on the Majority Report tomorrow. I will be on the Majority Report tomorrow. Oh, people are explaining what you mean. Hot Cheetos are just the chips, right? That are hot. When you say that you're having hot Cheetos for dinner, I assume there was like some new like Cheetos, like the Kraft macaroni and cheese version of Cheetos. So when you said hot Cheetos for dinner, I imagined like the Cheeto company made some sort of like Kraft macaroni and cheese type thing that you put on a stove and cooked up for dinner. But yeah, I'll give you guys a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about it in the Majority Report tomorrow. Although I'm sure Matt, and Jamie probably won't want to, even though it'll come up. I mean, I don't even want to, but this is we're friends here, so we're in the patron section of the show. So Destiny apparently, I should save it, but so Destiny apparently got mad that he was doing some sort of canvassing for the upcoming special elections in Georgia, and he wanted to team up with the DSA there and work with them, and they turned him down. He got upset, and he turned it into something it wasn't. He acted like they didn't want to help canvass, and because they didn't, the purity politics, man. Socialists don't want to help these liberals, even though the Senate is up for grabs with these two races. But then it came out that the local DSA just didn't want to work with him because of what he's said on previous. I mean, it's come out that he would use the N-word in his private time, apparently, but he would boast about using it on air. And then there was a clip that was circulating around where he basically supported Kyle Rittenhouse and said that more rioters should what Kyle Rittenhouse did to the two people who killed. More rioters should meet that fate, and rioters, Black Lives Matter protesters, but he called them rioters. This is a liberal, a guy who considers himself to be a liberal, by the way. I mean, I really don't know who Destiny is. I don't get, I don't really follow the esports thing. Apparently, he was like a big StarCraft gamer who then got big from being like a Twitch guy. But at some point, he thought he was smart enough or politically aware enough to pivot into having political streams. I mean, listen, there's no entry to talk about politics. If this guy wants to have a political stream, that's all fine and dandy. But the fact of the matter is this guy already had a pretty substantial fan base, from what I understand, from his video gaming stuff. And so he starts these political streams with this larger than most fan base built in. And he's got no idea what he's talking about in most instances, from what I understand. I mean, I think the most I ever watched of him, and I didn't even watch all of it, was when Michael Brooks debated him. All I recall really is that Michael was just like telling this guy very basic. I think they were debating about the TPP at the time, and Michael was giving him just very basic information about the TPP that someone who had such strong opinions on being pro TPP like he was, like Destiny was, should know if they have such a strong opinion. And he didn't know what he was talking about. And there's this one quote that I've seen from Michael that went around, where Michael said, and it makes perfect sense, where Michael was like, I don't do video game videos or streams because I don't play video games. I don't know about video games. You owe it to your audience to just do the bare minimum of work of being knowledgeable on a topic before you spout opinions about it and claim you know what you're talking about. I mean, I have this show is a leftist show that focuses on right wing groups, conspiracy theories, the intersection of politics and tech, how the internet is affecting our political discourse. We talk about cults on this show. We talk about fringe groups, right wing personalities, Q and you guys know what we cover. I think I just mentioned a whole bunch of stuff. And misinformation is obviously a big thing, but that goes into the conspiracy theory umbrella. Because that's what I specialize in. That's what I know about. That's what I've studied. That's what I'm really interested in. That's what I know more than most about. And then sometimes I do shows that are outside that realm, and I get a really knowledgeable guest on, and I ask them questions because I'm legitimately interested in learning more, and I want them to tell me more. And I base my opinion on these things, on the people I read, on the people I have on this show, on the people whose YouTube videos I watch, who are trusted sources on these things, because that's their specialties. And that's where I basically form my political outlook on everything. I would never do that. You know that Peru episode I did with my cousin-in-law, and who is born, raised in Peru, has been attending the Peruvian protests. It's her politics. She's a law student. She's really involved in learning about how this all worked with the impeachment process. And I wouldn't have done that show without her. I had Ali Vargas on, a reporter from Bolivia, to discuss what was happening. When I did the debate of Bolivian on the coup, I did so by informing myself, by studying the groups and the reporters. I read a number of Ali's pieces too. I did so by studying what they put out about the coup and about the election that basically was claimed that Morales stole, that turned out not to be true. And I read the studies on it, and I armed myself, and during that debate, I frequently went back to those studies to discuss. I wouldn't have done that without that stuff in front of me. I mean, that debate was based between Michael and Destiny. It was basically Destiny showed up unprepared, unknowledgeable, no sourcing really in front of him. Michael had to tell him everything. And so, so this guy wants to get involved with politics. Fine, cool, all for it. Anyone who wants to get involved with politics, be my guest. There's no barrier there. But he's making something up about why the DSA won't help him. They still want to be involved with you. And so he gets upset about that. And the DSA sets the record straight. And apparently Jamie Peck of Majority Report and the Antifada, who I am on Majority Report Thursdays with every Thursday. We come on right after Sam finishes up the first hour. We co-host the fun half with Emma now, and Matt Leck joins us, obviously, because producer Matt Leck and producer Brendan Finn. Jamie's my friend. I mean, honestly, I didn't know her before the Majority Report. But we've been doing the show now for a couple of months together, and I consider her to be a friend. And, I'm not someone who calls everyone I've ever met a friend. I mean, I'm actually very particular about calling someone my friend, but I've been on every Thursday with her. It's my friend. He mentions Michael's name. And basically, she was on a stream with members of the DSA, and she brings up the debate that he had with her. I mean, Michael had with Destiny. And I'm pulling this up because Destiny apparently is now, he's been suspended on Twitter. So he doesn't have, okay. So the tweet's not up anymore, but Jamie basically shares a clip from the discussion. And Destiny shares a separate clip where she brings up Michael from that same discussion. Just the debate they had. And he tweets, "Imagine dragging out your dead ex-co-host to score some brownie points for bravely defending communism on an internet radio show. Keep it classy, Jamie." There's nothing First of all, fuck you, buddy. I mean, I got honestly, people know me, and I don't usually get angry. People don't about shit online. I don't. I really doesn't. Most stuff doesn't bother me. In fact, most of you know that I really enjoy when right wingers come at me. It's brings me great joy. I can't even explain to you. It's like Christmas. Um, but you know, Michael was our friend, and we worked with Michael. I worked with Michael every day for, geez, something like 4 years, Monday through Friday, for 4 years, about 4 years, maybe 3.5 years by the time he got there, because I was there a little bit while before him. Between 3.5, 4 years, every single day, Monday through Friday, me and him side by side, at least 8 hours a day. Uh, Sometimes, it was just me, him, and Sam. Sometimes it was just me and him. I mean, I don't know how you get any closer to somebody. And Jamie did that too when I left. She joined the show 2017, I believe, right? Like the end of 2017. So at least for what? 2 years. She had a similar experience with Michael. So yeah, I think we could bring up a debate you had with him. I think we could reference our friend when it's specifically in reference to his interaction with you. I don't understand how. So I was very angry. And I brought up how, and I never talked about this to anyone. Someone on the day Michael passed away, I was sent a clip where Destiny was mocking me for a tweet I sent out. Apparently, he was very upset that I vague posted. Apparently, he was upset that when I learned of Michael's passing, and I was trying to understand it in my own head, this Michael is the first. This maybe shows how lucky I am as a person, but Michael is the first person that I was truly close to who is not a member of my family who I've lost, and I've never really, when a family member, when my grandma who raised me passed away in 2012, I didn't go online really and talk about it. I think I might have mentioned it like a week later, just to say I just wanted to put this out there in case anyone wondered where I've been for a week, because I didn't really tweet that much that week or at all. But I have family to talk to, and but when someone who passed away who I didn't know who to talk to, I tweeted something out because I wanted to find out who else knew, because it wasn't public yet. And I did not know at the time, actually, that the majority report ended that day on a bad note. By the time Sam told me about what happened to Michael, I thought that, the show was well over. The show was over at that point. And when Sam contacted me, I did not know that this happened, that it was hinted that something horrible happened on the show, and that's why the show ended early that day. I didn't even know. I wasn't watching the show that day. So I didn't realize that there would be people online looking for shit. So I just wanted to know who else knew. So I tweeted out just seeing who, to let people know that I basically knew without saying anything. So I could talk to someone. And I did receive phone calls from a few people, and it was very helpful, honestly, to talk to people at that moment. But if I knew that it was out there, that something was wrong, I wouldn't have tweeted. And obviously at that point I couldn't tweet what was going on because I wasn't the person to make that public. And I was very upset, and I needed to talk to someone who knew. And that was my way of finding out who else knew. And he was very upset that I vague posted. I just said something like, "This is one of the most horrible things that I've ever learned about, and it just makes today one of the worst days ever." Something like that I tweeted. And he was very upset I did that, Destiny. It just bothered him so much he had to make a video about it. A video which, by the way, originally had a picture of Michael as the YouTube thumbnail the day he passed away. Not a video about memorializing Michael. They used a picture of Michael on Destiny used a picture of Michael as his YouTube thumbnail so he could talk about his how much it bothered him that someone vague posted. They changed it, by the way, because he got a lot of shit about it. But he still used my tweet as the thumbnail image, which, again, I don't give a shit, man. You want to use me as your content, I really don't care. It really doesn't bother me. There's a reason why the first time I mentioned anything about it was 5 months down the line. Like, obviously, I'm going to remember it, because, it was pretty fucking ridiculous that you had a problem with it. Destiny. But, didn't bother me to the point where I'd make it public or whatever. I saw it and I was like, well, something to keep in the back of my mind if I ever run into him. But otherwise, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm not going to tell anyone else about it. But then I saw his tweet at Jamie, and I had to call him out on it because it was just, you want to mess with me, I could handle it. I don't give a shit. You want to mess with someone else I know? I mean, Jamie could handle it too. I know. But I just, it really bothered me, and I wanted to let people know that I wasn't going to, that this guy's an asshole. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, really, other than that's what happened. It's really funny, though, how there's multiple words for vague posting, and depending on how you want to go about it. I mean, vague posting to me sounds very much like the equivalent to a subtweet. But people say subtweet all like, ha 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 ha, subtweeting so-and-so, whatever, ha ha ha. Don't let them know because it's not worth the time to fuck with them. Just keep subtweeting them. But when you're not in on it and you want to know what's going on, because of course, a curious asshole anonymous shit on the internet has to be privy to all the information in your personal life. That vague posting is a big no-no. I mean, who gives a fuck? Stupid internet bullshit. It's not even relevant. What does vague posting do to your life other than the fact that you are apparently a demented lunatic who's so curious about something that the fact that you read something that other people are on the know for, but you're not part of that, angers you. Like, that's all that, like, how would you get angry about it? I don't understand. Why would you get mad at something like that? Is it annoying when I read a tweet from someone that is clearly like an inside thing between people, and it's like, oh, I have no idea what they're talking about? It's annoying. Would I complain about it? No, I just scroll through. No big deal. It's a fucking tweet. It takes 10 seconds to tweet out, another 5 seconds for you to just scroll past it. Not even. I'm being generous at the time. It takes a millisecond. Like, what children? Seriously, what children? Grow up. Grow up. I mean, vague posting. Like, yeah, when I go to see someone, it's like, bitches who want to talk shit about me. I get it. Don't let me go and talk shit about you because you have no idea what I know about you. That type of stuff. When you're just doing like the drama stuff. Yeah, it's annoying. Sure, but I really, would I make a big deal about it? No. But also, I would say that type of shit is much different than someone who is going through a tough time and just wants to, get an emotion out on the internet. I see people do that all the time. So, really having a tough time with today. Okay, they're clearly, reach out to them and say, hey, is everything okay? And maybe they want to talk to you. I mean, again, like I said, I've never done that before. And I guess, and when I did it, I wasn't even really thinking. I was just like, I want to talk to someone. I don't know who else knows. I'm not really, I just found out, and I wanted to talk to someone about what happened, to find out what they knew. And that's that. Again, if I knew that it happened on the show and that people would have more of a hint of what was going on, I probably would have had second thoughts about it. But maybe I wouldn't have, because again, like I said, it didn't even occur to me. But that's that. I mean, obviously, I think honestly, from what I understand of Destiny, I think he's got problems. The guy has issues. I think the guy has issues. I think the guy lives in a pretend world. I think he is disassociated from the real world, to be quite honest. From what I've been reading about the various things he's done. And the idea that he just goes on a stream and thinks he knows shit. I heard he just took an LSAT, the test for like lawyers, your law school test or whatever. I mean, I don't really know. I'm not a lawyer, so I wouldn't go on a stream and pretend I could take it. But apparently he got into a Twitter war with a respectable lawyer. A great Twitter feed, by the way. I'm not sure who's behind it. but he's a great guy from what I understand, from just reading his tweets at least. Um, and he guys will fight with him. And to prove how easy it is to be a lawyer, he went on the stream to take it at the LSAT, and he couldn't get past the first question, apparently. I mean, I think the guy has real issues, to be quite frank. Like, obviously, if I did that, I'd make a big joke about it, but apparently he got really upset that he if you are that online that you have to freak out about every little internet etiquette thing as if it's the end of the world, then maybe you should sit down with someone, meet someone, maybe get a girlfriend. Let me tell you, maybe look at life and think about what you're doing with it. Maybe you've been playing StarCraft for too long, buddy. Like, I think you got issues. The idea that someone would talk about someone online for internet points. Who gives a fuck about internet points? That's how online you are. That's what you think. That's what you think. That's the first thing you think of. Listen, I could get 1,000 tweets with a funny screenshot of some right wing asshole. I get 1,000 tweets by 1,000 retweets. I mean, I've got hundreds of thousands of retweets from just screenshotting some right wing dunce and writing a funny one liner with it. I don't need to give you my emotional state to get tweets. I could assure you that shit doesn't get anything. Look at my Twitter feed. Barely any of it's personal. I've had a kid for 5 years, and I barely I post a picture of him maybe once or twice a year, like once for Halloween and once for Christmas, because I'm really proud of him when he's doing those public. My personal life is my personal life. You will never see a photo of my kid like hanging out, just doing his regular things. I wouldn't do that to him. We take a nice photo for Halloween of him out in his costume. I don't even think we did that this year because of the COVID. But previous years, we took a nice, cool, like outside photo specifically for public consumption of him in his costume. And then we'll take like the Christmas photo of our kid because that's for send out the family and everything. Those are the photos I post. My personal life is my personal life. I don't farm for fucking internet points. I'm able to separate the two because it really is two separate worlds. Especially in what I work in, I'm very, very careful about my shit. In fact, sometimes I wonder if I'm even giving too much about where I live when I talk about Queens. But at the same time, with the coronavirus and how much it's affected Queens and specifically the areas where I live, the general areas of I've said it before in the show, Flushing, Jackson Heights, Corona, Whitestone, College Point, those general areas, Elmhurst, those general areas. It's important I give you my on-the-ground experience because it is relevant to an area that's being hit by COVID. And has experienced racism because like I've mentioned, the areas I live in, majority Asian and a lot of Latino. So yeah, I'm able to understand. And, when I call my patrons here friends, it's because we're friendly. Yeah, but if you guys see me on the street, I would say hello. Feel free to come say hello to me if you see me on the. But at the same time, I'm not going to divulge stuff to you as if we're old buddies. We'll be acquaintances in real life and we'll get to know each other if we want to be friends. We're friends online. Two different worlds to me. Do they interact? Obviously, the whole idea of IRL in real life, with how much the internet and social media is a part of our everyday life. Obviously, those worlds meld together and intertwine. But you also need to be able to separate them. Someone I just tweet at back and forth all day and night, every now and then. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm like gonna embrace them as if they're an old buddy from college or high school when I see them in real life. No, it's a different kind of connection. It's a different experience. That's a different relationship to build. Philip says Destiny's got a kid. That makes that shit even, I'm not going to, I would never do that. I would never, unless obviously there was some sort of thing out there to actually talk about. I don't know. It's none of my business. Not even going to bring his kid up. I'm just saying, listen, that makes it even sadder that he takes the internet shit so seriously. Honestly. Be a fucking role model. But again, making this clear, he could be a great dad. Who the fuck knows? None of my business. See what I mean? I'm able to separate that shit. Oh, and another thing though about that though. Everything I do, I'm proud of. Have I made mistakes or whatever? Sure, everyone does. But everything I put out there, if my kid watched this stream, I wouldn't want him to watch it now because I curse. But that's just sort of about growing up and having to be able to understand that vocabulary and be able to use that vocabulary. I don't want him cursing at 5 years old, obviously. So that's why he won't watch my streams when I'm cursing. But in terms of like the content, my kid I'll be proud to show my kid this stuff, and he could know that his dad would cover this stuff, would cover the far right, would cover white supremacist groups, would cover conspiracy theories online, in hopes that it would inform people and create at least a more knowledgeable public. I mean, I'm not gonna think I'm able to create a better world or anything. I'm not that influential, but I know that a number of people watch my stream. At the end of the day, about a couple of thousand people between the podcast, more than a couple actually, about 5,000-6,000 people watch between all the podcast, the stream, on all the different platforms all together each episode. Sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less, but in general, that's the audience right now where we are. And if just a few people watch this and take something away about how to deal with, or know what a certain, know what the latest QAnon conspiracy is about when they see it in the wild, then I feel like I accomplished something, And I'm just here basically to, part of it too is to entertain. Me and Michael would speak a lot about that, but how important it was for political content to be entertaining, because there's a lot of content out there, and if you're not catching eyeballs and you're just giving dry information, obviously there's a place for that, and there's some people who do that sort of delivery and content really good. I don't think I do that sort of stuff as well, obviously, but you gotta let people have fun and enjoy too when they're consuming this stuff, and they'll probably retain it better. I didn't mean to talk about that long about this, but it really. Again, if it was just him going after me, I never would have thought about it again. But then I see him using Michael's name, like the idea that Jamie and I are using Michael's name for brownie points or internet points, or whatever the fuck he said. The two people that actually knew Michael very closely in real life. And him bringing Michael up as someone who did a single fucking debate stream with him. Like, he's that dumb he doesn't see? Like, that one tweet of his is him farming for internet points more than whatever he claims me and Jamie did. Honestly, he's very stupid. Just a very stupid guy. Um, let's go back to the super chats. Obviously, also, I wouldn't have gone on this rant on the regular stream. This is for patrons, where we're all, a little bit more intimate. I get a little bit more personal. This is the shoot the shit half. Um, NamDayNet with a super chat. I recommended Matt to a smaller Twitch streamer to talk about how conspiracies spread online, especially Instagram in relation to COVID. He's a liberal but well-meaning. At Dr. Heemdout. Listen, I have no problem talking to anyone. I've had right wingers on this show. You guys know that. I had the Kent State gun girl on this show. I'm not anti talking to anybody. Just don't be an asshole. I mean, obviously, Kent State gun girl is an asshole, but I mean, I had her on for a different reason. I mean, I would go on Destiny's channel and I would have him on this channel. Obviously, we would have a very different conversation than I would have with, like, that I just had with Alex Kotch. But I'm not against talking to anybody. Mariah with a super chat. I put hot Cheetos on my fried rice from time to time, so I see where you are coming from. Philip says about me jumping in when Destiny went after Jamie. It's that goth punk solidarity. Listen, I love the goths. I just pointed out to Jamie in our little feud that A, punk's cooler, and B, goths as a whole, as a subculture, were never really part of the overarching punk subculture in the same way that, like, punk, hardcore kids, like Rude Boys in the ska world, who else? Like crust punks, street punks, even like the mods and the skinheads. You know, all those types were always under the same sort of punk umbrella. And goths never really fit under that. They're always like a side, if it was like a tree. If the alternative subcultures were a tree, punk would be a really big like arm of the tree. And all the different subgenres would be like twigs on that tree, on that arm of the tree, excuse me. But then goth would be like just another arm on the overwhelming alternative subculture tree. Like, it wouldn't be one of the twigs on the punk branch. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Samantha Sider says you're 100% with a super chat. You're 100% right on Destiny. Demented lunatic with a poop emoji. Renee says, managerial destiny just being kaiju. Kaiju. I don't know what that means, but I'm sorry. Mariah says with a super chat, you had every right to vague post. Destiny needs to get a life. Yeah, I mean, I don't really, I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow. Maybe even not, because I know Matt and Jamie hate talking about that type of shit. And I honestly, if it wasn't the patron half of the show, I never brought it up. But I know you guys wanted to hear about it. Misha says there's a bunch of leftist best people who drag Jamie constantly for not reacting correctly to Michael's death. One of them is Nomi's Mod. What did she, how did she react? I don't understand. I don't get it. Listen, I know Matt Leck was probably closest, not probably, out of all, I mean, he worked on TMBS and the Majority Report on Michael, so the hours they spent together, Matt was definitely the closest to Michael. But, like, I spent every day just me and him sometimes, but every day me and him and Sam for years and years and years. I mean, I know Jamie maybe wasn't as close as me or obviously Matt Leck, but I mean, she still knew him and worked in the same office as him. And I mean, and how she wants to react to his death is totally her own thing. I saw nothing weird or wrong about how she reacted. I don't get it. I don't understand why people. Like, here's the thing too. Like, I guess it's just weird to me, but like, we're not celebrities. We're just people. Like, I know that you guys, and it's weird to me, but I know you guys like subscribe to us and watch us a lot. And I'm gonna take myself out of this too because I'm not even as big as those guys. But like I know you watch Sam and you watched Michael a lot and you watch TMBS and Antifada, but like we're just like people. Like the thing that like celebrities make a lot of money, which means they could like they could provide security for themselves or make sure that they're careful in terms of how they go about their day or get people to do things for them so they don't have to go out but like we don't have that. We're just regular people. I know the internet has made it more accessible for everyone to sort of have that, but like also that's my generation. I know younger people, especially like younger millennials and definitely Generation Z, the Zoomers, like they look at like TikTokers and those people as like the same as like Angelina Jolie and Johnny Depp, and like I could assure you, it's like even like there's very few YouTubers and TikTokers who make that much money on that level. Let me fix that. Who make the money on the level of like Hollywood celebrity. There's a lot of social media stars making good money, like full-time money. But on the level of like Hollywood celebrity, like tens of millions of dollars, like enough to like have people care for them and stuff so they don't have to worry about weirdos doing anything. There's very few. So like, I don't get the people who go after Jamie or anything like that as if like she's or anyone really. Like we're just people. We're just like you. We're literally. I mean, you guys could start a feed just like we do. There's nothing. I stress that all the time. Like if you start a channel, you could come on the show. Like just reach out to me. Just obviously have a topic to talk about so we could discuss things. But like reach out to me. I'll be happy to have you on. I've had listeners of the show who have podcasts on before. When I become a Hollywood celeb and get booked for a big movie role, then you guys could treat me as a Hollywood celeb. I look forward to that because please give me that Hollywood money. But Nug Wrangler says on Twitch when is Sam coming on? Here's the interesting story. I actually had planned to have Sam on for the 100th episode. And then I think that's when COVID hit. When we hit the 100th episode. And I was like, this would be inappropriate to ask Sam to come on for some big like 100th episode party during this pandemic. So Sam Cedar has not been on this show yet. We're almost at episode 150. Maybe I'll have him on for that. But I mean, we're still in the pandemic, Ryzom says, hi all, I forgot what day the show is on, so I missed everything up until now. No, you weren't wrong. I was off today. We had a special Wednesday show today because I wanted Alex Kotch on to talk about that piece that literally was published now 3 hours ago about who funded the Federalist. And I invited him on tomorrow, but he couldn't do it tomorrow. So I said, you know what, fuck it. Are you available right now, buddy? And he was like, well, I'm doing a show at 7. I'm on my own show at 7. Because he's the podcast Gilded Age, like we talked about. But I'm free after that. So I was like, fuck it, let's do it tonight. And that's one of the good things about having a YouTube feed. And owning the show, like this being my show. I could do it whenever it makes sense for the guest. And I'm sorry if it was inconvenient to some people. But I wanted Alex on ASAP. I could have held it for a day and had him on tomorrow, but he couldn't do it tomorrow. So the next best thing was having it emergency episode tonight. So you didn't miss anything. I mean, you didn't screw up at all, Ryzom. It wasn't your fault. I switched the nights because of booking issues. Needed to have this guest on ASAP. Champagne and Comedy says, just wait for the 200th episode. Right, that'll be the end of next year. Maybe by then COVID will be done with. So we won't have to, yeah. But yeah, I wanted, JC says, I would love to start a podcast just as an excuse to come on the show. Also, you don't have to have a podcast, obviously. If you have any specific experience you want to talk about, like I had someone on the show whose brother was a LaRouche. And we did an entire episode about Lyndon LaRouche and his cult based on this guy's experience with his brother. Just have, if you have anything interesting like that, please, by all means, reach out to me. DM me on Twitter. That's enough of a reason to come on the show. So for real, like, you don't need to. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys. So I'm working, as you know, I moved and I'm in this new little studio, which is basically a it's not really large, a bigger than normal closet, big enough to fit a desk in. And I'm rearranging things. I just gotta. The desk wasn't good for this room because it's a little bit too wide, and I need a thinner desk. But I also had room on my left-hand side because the door's on my right-hand side. So there was all this empty space on my left-hand side. You know, desk up here. But then over here, there was all this unused room, and here's the door. So I was like, oh, I'll get an L-shaped desk so I have extra desk space. So I could put like maybe an extra screen or something on this side, and I could build out and make a nice little streaming studio here. Maybe even one day upgrade, get a second, get a computer like a gaming PC, and do Twitch streams that you guys have been wanting me to do. I mean, I can't do that yet, but we'll get there with the Patreon stuff. So I was like, the first step is to get that desk. So I got this L-shaped desk, and the problem is, being that I use a green screen, it's too long behind me. The L side here, the part on my side, needs to be shorter. Now, they do make desks where the part in front of you is longer and the part on this side is shorter. But I got one without thinking. I measured it to make sure it fit in the room and that I had room for the chair and everything, but I forgot to measure with the green screen in mind. I mean, I measured to make sure the green screen would fit, but I forgot to measure with it in mind that the desk might be visible, screwing up the green screen. So this side's too long, and let me show you guys what I mean. Let me turn the chroma key off. Do you see that? So here's my green screen, and here's the desk. Now, actually, what you see right here is a green sheet of paper. I tried out. Like a green sheet of, there's the desk, you see? A green sheet of construction paper. And over here is a secondary green screen I got that just came in the mail. I actually bought a few green screens. Because I'm going to, see, they're different, this is what you got to watch out. I'm going to do a video on this, actually. Because another thing I want to share with you guys, I'm going to do some non-political content on this channel, too, to help build it out. I don't know if you saw that Tim Pool said he's going to do some non-political content to try to win over young people to his stream so he could get them with the conservative stuff once they're there. I'm going to fight that. I'm not as big as Tim Pool, but it's a good idea. So I'm going to do some, like, tech and streaming, like, related stuff like that. When I mean tech, I already do a lot of tech stuff, but I mean maybe non-political related tech stuff. More like, shoot the shit type stuff. Maybe a video on this. So I bought a few green screens online because I was reading that some of these show up not the correct color. I mean, there is no actual correct green color, but there is like a widely understood range of what a good green screen color is. The one behind me is a good green screen color. This is not. This one is closer. When I take it out of the bag, it might be correct. But this one might be too. This one's pretty close as well. And here's the sheet of paper. So there's my desk. So what I need to do is I need to get a smaller desk, at least one that's smaller on this side, so I could still have the L-shaped desk here to put stuff over here, but maybe it cuts off, I don't know, right here, so you can't see it. It really is about what? About maybe like 5 to 6 inches too long. That's about it. So I'm gonna probably end up returning this desk and getting a new one. Because honestly, I don't want to deal with a green screen right here on the table. And now I messed up the. Choice Fantastic says, "Do you need a saw for the holidays?" Right, I considered just sawing it off, but then I would have to deal with the steel bars underneath the legs, and I don't have. I'm in an apartment. I don't really have the tools necessary to like saw them and then weld them together too. Trev says, "Build your gaming PC." If anyone wants to send me good stuff, good specs to build one, or if anyone wants to build me one, I'm all for that. I'm pretty tech savvy when it comes to like software stuff. Hardware, unless it's like streaming related, like cameras and stuff like that, lighting and stuff, like computer hardware, I'm not too good with. Let's see what else people are saying. JC says, "Who is worse for society, Destiny or Tim Pool?" Oh, easy. Destiny's a nobody. Tim Pool, for sure. No one knows who Destiny is outside of very specific circles. Tim Pool is legit like crossed over into like mainstream internet. Like a lot of people know who Tim Pool is. And a lot of people fall for his shtick of him being like a truth teller. He's not a conservative. He's a liberal who's just upset with the left, who's disgusted by the left. A lot of people fell for that shit from him. Zoe says you should wear green at some point. I should. Nug Wrangler says the green screen and desk look better than the black backdrop. Not gonna lie. I did consider just using the white wall, but like that's what you would get. The white wall. You get a white wall. That's what would happen. You'd get a white wall. I mean, you want to see? I mean, I'm about to end the stream now anyway, so. I mean, it's a very small room. And it's just like an apartment. Like you could see the wall. Like it's I live in an apartment that was built in like what was it? I don't even know, the 50s, 60s, 70s, something like that. So I mean, it's just a very. I guess I can move it over a little bit. You don't see that, but it's just a wall. I mean, kind of boring. I think it's much more boring with the green screen. I do intend eventually on getting a nice backdrop, but like I just think it's. You guys like this better? I mean, what if I turn this light off? This overhead light. I mean, a lot of shadows, right? You guys tell me. I mean, I personally prefer the green screen because it gives me more options. I mean, this is the size of the room. Like, look. There's the wall on that side. And there's the wall on that side. And here's how far back it goes. So, arm's length here, from where I'm sitting and another arm's length in front of me. And then basically I'm sitting in the middle of the room and there's an arm's length in each direction. So there's not much room for to make this room interesting. Like, I can't put like shelving unit behind me and a background because then I would have less room to move back. I mean, I just turned the green screen on without the green screen there. I didn't even take this new green screen out of the bag yet. That's how I just literally just got it. But the nice thing is that there's a door. Before, when I was at the other apartment where I've been streaming for the past 2.5 years, I was just in I was in a corner of basically an open space with the kitchen, the living room, and everything. So, and it was where, I don't know if you guys never saw it, I don't think. Maybe you did in some early streams, but it was right by the entrance. So we would keep the kids' strollers there. My 1-year-old daughter's stroller, and at the time he was like, 2, 3, 4 years old, my son's stroller. So like the baby stroller and then like the umbrella stroller for toddlers. We'd have those strollers there. And every time I wanted to do a stream, I had to roll the strollers out of the way, move some things out of the way. Now I have a dedicated space. The camera and everything and the green screen and everything, it's always ready to go, always set up. Makes doing the stream a lot easier, you know? So yeah, that's I know for people listening to the podcast right now, this might be a little bit boring because but this is we're on the second half of the live stream for patrons, and we're showing people about the new room. I was gonna do this eventually, right? Because and that's why my voice sounds a little bit different. Because the good thing about the open space was my voice wasn't bouncing on the walls. My voice was able to travel directly to the mic, and that was that. It wasn't bouncing off. We weren't getting that sort of echo you get in this room. But along with the green screens, I also just purchased some foam acoustic dampening. Again, I want to make this clear. The reason I'm also showing you this is like, this is what I do with the Patreon money. I'm working to make this show better. I'm working to make it as easy as possible for me to create more content, because obviously the easier it is for me to just set shit up and get things going, the more content I'll be able to create. It's one of the reasons it was so hard for me to do more than one show a week at the old place, because I had to set up every time, and it gets annoying, honestly. But so I got this foam acoustic dampening, soundproofing. Soundproofing isn't the right word because people think, oh, soundproofing, you're keeping the sound in, can't hear. No, the foam padding basically just makes it so your voice doesn't bounce off the walls. And so the voice just basically, you don't get that bounce back. And that's why you sometimes hear that weird, like I'm in a hallway or something. So I got this to make it better. I'm going to put this on the wall very soon. Basically, I wanted to get the desk in here first because honestly, it's going to be fun getting this desk back out when I return it, because it was an adventure fitting this desk in. Like, it literally fits perfectly in here. So I got that. I got my green screens. I'm not keeping all the green screens. The soundproofing, obviously, I bought to keep, but the green screens, basically, I bought so I can test out which one works the best and keep that one, and then return the others without having to wait forever for me to buy one, return them. I mean, green screens aren't much money. Each one was like $12-13. The soundproofing was a little bit more. I think that was like, $40 or something for 24 square pads. And then a listener sent me my new microphone I'm going to use. I've been using the Blue Yeti because I just got the new, I believe it's the, let me get the right, yeah, the Shure MV7, which is basically the mic below. It's the brand new mic from Shure that basically is one below the really professional mic that all the big podcasters use. So basically, I tested it out. It's really good, this mic. This is the one below the mic that Sam uses on his on the majority port, the mic for Sam Cedar. The only reason I'm not using it now is because I don't have a stand for it. And I just bought a mic arm. I'm telling you guys, I'm in the studio and I'm using the Patreon funds to build out now that I'm in here. Because we're going to go full bore. I'm going the whole way here. I'm telling you guys, more content on the way. And the reason I don't have the mic arm set up yet is because my old desk didn't have the desktop didn't have the space to clip it. It had drawers on the bottom, so there was no room to clip it to the desk. So I got this desk to clip it onto, but I'm not going to keep the desk. So I was like, why am I going to set it up when I'm literally probably going to disassemble it after the show. Not tonight, but like tomorrow or Friday. Probably not tomorrow because I'm doing the majority port. But probably Friday, I'm going to disassemble this desk and we get a new one. Obviously return it so I could use the same money. I don't have enough money to buy two desks at the same time. But I'm telling you, artist formerly known as Rick says audio production is important. As a film major in school, as I went to film school, I know that. I can assure you. I am constantly explaining to people that don't worry about video quality. Obviously, if you want good video quality, that's important. But you can always make any sort of video quality work for an aesthetic. You can always make it part of your story, your video quality. There's always some sort of tweaking or editing you can do even in post. Maybe not to make it perfect, but to give it a look and feel, like an artistic feel that's what you were going for. But with audio, that's not the case. Bad audio is bad audio. You got something weird with the video, you could turn it into the look for whatever the movie you're making, the short film, the stream. That could be an aesthetic. But bad audio is not fooling anybody. Bad audio is bad audio. So I'm really looking forward to using this mic because it is a huge step up. It is the first USB, it's XLR too, but it's the first USB dynamic microphone, which means it's a mic that only picks up audio when you're talking up close, for people who don't really understand what that is. So in addition with the soundproofing and that mic, the audio quality is going to be much, much better. Zoe says, are you sick? You are sniffling. I have a bit of a stuffy nose all of a sudden. Didn't have it all day. All of a sudden just sort of getting it right now. So, I think that's the show today, guys. Hope you had fun. This was different than usual, for the second half. We, artist formerly known as Rick says, yes, Binder is talking sense. Bad audio is bad audio. I am pleased with your sensible purchases. Well, again, I purchased a few green screens to try out, only with the intent to only keep one. Maybe I'll keep two, just to have a backup. Because actually, the green screen I use now, the reason I bought new green screens, the green screen I use now is the Elgato fold-up green screen. So it's basically this huge, I can't really show it, it's on the floor, but it's basically this huge metal case. And you basically just lift up a handle and the green screen rolls up, which is great for portability. For my old setup, when I need to constantly break down every day and put the strollers and everything back in the space, that was perfect. But now, when I have my own space, but have less room, I have less space behind me to move my chair because that big metal carrying case is behind me. So the goal is to keep the Elgato green screen and use that for YouTube videos where I'm doing stand-up stuff. I could, lift the camera tripod up higher and do some stand-up stuff for some of the YouTube videos I'm planning on making. But for the sit-down streams, I don't need this on the floor behind me. I'll have more room if I don't. So I just want to put one of these green screens on the wall behind me. I'm going to probably, not tape, but pin them up all across the wall. So the soundproofing on the walls to my side and in front of me, and the green screen behind me. The Elgato Zoe says stand-up comedy. No, stand-up as in me standing instead of sitting. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I did a series when I worked at Cafe called The Real Fake News. And it basically looked at, it was a series where each episode was either it was a debunking of something the media got wrong. And basically, it was a stand-up setup. Like, I wasn't sitting at a desk. I was standing in front of a camera with a full-size green screen behind me. I was able to move around, walk a little bit, move around more. It gives you more of a feel like you're watching like a well-produced video instead of just like, a stream. When you're doing a stream, so you're sitting in a chair, that's fine for that setup. But if you're doing like a produced video, it's helpful to not be sitting down sometimes. Sometimes it helps to move around, and I would do that for that series. You can look that up. I uploaded them. Cafe is very different now, if you guys aren't aware, and they don't have those videos up on their YouTube channel anymore. But I took them and put them on my YouTube channel, so you could look at the Real Fake News clips. There's some of them at least. Search for them on youtube.com/MattBinder, and you get a sense of some of the stuff I'm planning. M2 Silent says, after 2 kids, how does Binder manage to stay so slim? Well, I mean, I didn't birth the 2 kids, so that helps. They weren't. I mean, that makes it a lot easier, right? But also, I have always been, runs in my family, we're very small and skinny. When I mean small, we're also very short. You guys know I'm short. Actually, apparently, a lot of people don't know I'm short if they didn't see me in real life. Because some people who do, like, have done drawings of me, draw me way much taller than I am. Yeah, that's the show for today, guys. No more super chats. I think I got them all. And Mushu Bean says, gotta get some purple LED lights. LOL. Obviously not with the green screen. Right, it would be nice to be able to just do a nicely lit background, but I just don't think this is the space for it, which is fine. I'm cool with the green screen. I'm just happy to have this space to basically be able to do this in. All right, guys. That is the show for today. Tomorrow, if you're people listening to the podcast version of this, by the time this goes up, after I edit the sound levels and fix some things here and there, the Majority Report will probably have already come and gone. So, hope you enjoyed me on Majority Report Thursdays. But if you're listening to the live stream, be sure to catch me tomorrow on the Majority Report. Show starts at 12 noon for the Sam interview, and then Sam Cedar throws it to Jamie, Emma, Matt Leck, Brendan, and myself for the fun half. And you could call into the show there. I didn't take calls today. We had too much to talk about. But we'll be doing calls on the Majority Report tomorrow. Dooms will be back next week. I'm planning some extra content in the coming weeks based on how quickly I could get this studio set up. Waiting on the perfect desk, basically. I already ordered the other desk. I gotta disassemble this, return it, get the mic arm set up on the new desk, start using this new Shure dynamic mic. And I could do that and then set up the new green screens and the soundproofing at a later date. The most important stuff is the new desk, the mic arm, and the new mic, and I'll get that up ASAP. All right, guys, thanks for joining me on this episode of the show, and see you all next time on Doomed.